Kate Tempest, thank you very much for joining us today. Lovely to see you. So you've got a book coming out, your debut novel. It's been a string of debuts for you, hasn't it, over the past few years? And The Bricks That Built the Houses is almost here. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I feel better about it. There was a bit where I felt really, really terrified about it. But now it's out. It's actually out. It came out a couple of days ago, Thursday. And now I'm starting to realise that it's out. It exists. I'm kind of... I feel good about it, I think. I feel really excited and proud that it's finished. I've been working on it a long time, and I've been able to see it in the future for quite a long time, and now it's finished, done, it's out. So it's a strange feeling, but I mean, it's not quite like the kind of raw rush of like, yes, my album's out, but it's a different kind of like, like novel out, different feeling.
I love the title, The Bricks That Built the Houses, and this question of, do people make cities or do cities make people? And that is one of the things that you're kind of, I'm not quite sure, and I wondered what you thought about it, because as you say, this is part of a selection of projects which are all rooted in London.
Well, yeah, not just London, but a very particular corner of the city, which is where I grew up and still live, South London, South East London. And I feel like the kind of shock that I've absorbed through a kind of relentless immersion in thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, life, bodies, stories. I think it would be impossible for anybody to grow up amongst that amount of life and not be completely touched by it in some way, and it has to come out somehow. Like, lots of people that I know from where I grew up are also making work, we're musicians or painters or writers of some sort. There is something that happens where my internal landscape is kind of as busy and populated as the external landscape that I've been grown up in. I feel like this maybe is, like I'm saying, it feels like I had to get this out. This kind of, it's like a kind of love song and an elegy and a kind of howl of complaint, but also celebration of a place that is changing rapidly. And I do think that the people make the city make the people. Like, it's a kind of constant feeding in and out. It's this kind of gorge and purge and gorge and purge situation that cities are full of. But yeah, it's like London has a huge part of me and is a huge part in me. But I'm beginning to be able to see over the parapet of kind of my youth and young adulthood. This is part of that as well, of being able to just grow past it and feel a bit more like able to make sense of that as that bit, And now it's time to look at other places.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Leave.
People will be asking a lot about gentrification with this book, I would have thought, which does come into it to an extent. There's certainly towards the end of the book, we get the sense of the city changing, which is obviously what London has always done. What do you think of your corner of the city and how it's changed over the past 10, 15 years?
Well, yeah, it's changed, it's changing. But then everywhere, I was thinking about this the other day, and this might seem completely far-fetched to say, but I kind of I tried to get at this in an interview the other day, but I didn't quite get there with it. But so yes, land is being sold off to investors to be exploited for the most amount of profit. That's hurtful for us, the people that populate that land, because we feel attached to that land and the culture and the people that now can't afford to live there, and it's changing and it worries us. But if we just zoom out a little bit and we look at how that represents the kind of global culture of greed, because the common thing in all of this, what I'm about to say, is greed, and that's the operative word here. Because if you think about what's happening, well, in Peru, it's, what I mean, like the land is being exploited for its wealth, so palm oil companies, palm oil manufacturers are buying the Peruvian rainforest to raise it to the ground at the expense of the cultures and the people that live and survive on that land, and also all of us, considering that rainforest is the lungs of the earth, as they say. If you think about what's happening all over the planet, so not just in kind of natural places where, like the rainforest, or in urban places like the city where people are using the land, this is happening everywhere. And I'm not against people coming or going from a place. The world needs to be about flux and change, because very soon, and I'm sorry to say this, I feel like there's going to be a lot of the planet which is going to be uninhabitable. So if I'm going to turn around and say, yeah, well, I'm all for kind of open borders and people moving across the planet, but actually no yuppies in South London, I can't say that. That's hypocritical and it doesn't make any sense. I'm all for people moving and being welcomed into places. What bothers me more than anything is this kind of unwillingness to actually be a part of the community that's there, that exists there, and building these kind of gated communities that don't want to partake in what was there before, but just see it as a kind of redundant patch of land to be built on afresh for profit and gain. And I mean, I know it's kind of strange to even ask for there to be any kind of commonality between the situation in London and the situation in the rainforest, but the only reason I bring it up is because this is a global concern, this is a huge problem, and there will come a point where we can't exploit the land for the wealth anymore because it will be too late for the land and for us, you know?
How was it writing a novel for the first time? What made you want to do that and try that form out when you've done so many other things already?
Well, I wanted to write a novel all my life. I think many writers probably do, and lots of people I think feel genuinely they have a novel in them, but what I realised, I didn't have an idea that merited the form. Like my desires before to write a novel had been more about this kind of ego-driven desire to be a novelist, rather than an idea-driven desire that this idea is big enough and merits a form that is this epic. And then the idea came for what was Everybody Down and now is also The Bricks. And when that idea came, it was just such a relief in my brain because it was like, this is the idea, this is the novel, this is it, this is the first novel. I can feel it. I could literally feel it. And then it's been epic writing it. It's like walking around with a concrete hat on. It's like all day you're like, fucking hell, it's so heavy because you have to create a universe. You have to create a universe. You have to know everything about everybody. In the second or third draft of the novel, it was about 4 times as long because I had to know everything about if there was characters that you will never meet, that I just had to investigate every single little avenue of how that universe worked, which I then lost the majority of it, thankfully, because the novel didn't need it, but I needed it as the writer.
Yeah, she's a wonderful character, Becky, and she really is a fantastic kind of literary creation. How does it feel to be in a place where she has her own theme? You know, she's like, you've written songs for her, she's in the book, and are you looking at leaving her behind? Does it feel strange to be saying goodbye to these characters that have been with you for such a long time?
Well, no, because like I said at the beginning of this interview, I've been working towards getting this bit done for a long time, you know. They have their space, like so Brand New Ancients is Gloria's story, Everybody Down and The Bricks is Becky's story, Wasted, which is my first play, is Charlotte's story, Charlotte, Becky and Gloria, best mates. The world, you know, it's big enough. Like they have their space, they've done their thing. And like, I mean, at the minute now, I feel like I'm ready to move on. Like the next record, one of the characters does survive into the next record, but yeah, I mean, they're not.
You're not going to tell us who.
I'll just leave it there just for a minute,
Yeah,
just in case I decide to change it. But yeah, I mean, maybe with time, maybe she'll come back into my brain and ask me to write something else for her. But right now, it's like I think it's done. I don't know.
So you have a kind of sense of peace about it, isn't that?
I mean, I think so. I hope so. It's either peace or just exhaustion. That's one of the two. I don't know. Her London has changed. Becky looks around for all the things that she has missed so much, but nothing is the same. The snooker hall is gone, its foundations are wrapped in construction hoardings, and it stands 4 stories taller than it used to, rapidly becoming another block of luxury apartments. The half-derelict bridal store and beauty bar where she used to get her nails done and pick up weed. The one that had the mournful mannequin in the window, dressed in the same peacock blue sequin gown for years, is now a glass-fronted cafe with exposed brickwork and low-hanging lamps. She wonders what's happened to Naima, the woman who used to run the shop. She'd been a friend of Becky's mum and she knew Becky's name before Becky did. The swimming baths have been bulldozed along with the old town hall where she used to go to playgroup. The old police station, everything has been or is being turned into flats. The actual flats stand empty and black-eyed, their windows smashed, their fronts ripped off, their insides on display, wallpaper and old sofas and kitchen units shivering in the rain. The area secured, cameras like crows on the tops of the fencing. She stands and stares up. She feels like stopping someone and shaking them and screaming, "What's happened here?" Becky watches all the strangers that she passes with increasing panic. Is it just her imagination, or are these people really fuller in their faces, glossier, healthier, more robust? What's different? The streets are as busy as ever, but it feels empty. She steps into sunshine, holding down panic. They used to come here for breakfast every Saturday when they were hungover, and she couldn't face seeing her auntie and uncle. She feels a hopeless sense of longing for that time and looks around tentatively, glad to see that at least this cafe is still the same. Pictures of dogs dressed as aristocrats hang on the brown-tiled walls. Articles from the local paper are faded in their frames. Plastic chairs are nailed to the tables. People eat food from huge plates that are twice the size of plates. The chef has burnt some toast, and he is standing at the door, flapping it open and closed, but the door gets stuck and scrapes on the lino each time it closes, so he has to push it closed and then wrench it back open, and the whole thing is proving quite dramatic. She sits at the table by the window and listens to what people are saying, only realising now that for all the long months she'd been away, she'd been unable to listen to strangers speaking. She sinks into it. And on and on and on.